after one season at UCF and the last 3 seasons at Florida Gulf Coast University, JanMagnus JanMagnus. Apologize if I butchered that name, that part of the name, Johnson, with the UTR of 12.90, which is the ideal number is to be like in the 13s, or at least 12.8 or higher. Of course, if you're like 14, that's pretty good. I mean, is transferring and has signed with Florida. He for the fall of 2023 as a grad transfer. He's a 3-time ASUN Men's Tennis Player of the Year who played at the number one spot with an ITA singles high rank of 65. So I want to go over like his stats this past year. He was 18-3 at the one spot. But granted, you gotta take into consideration the competition. And he did play at number one doubles some. I mean, with 8 completed matches on the year. So just a FYI on that. And this definitely is a huge loss for Gulf Coast men's tennis. First of all, we know this is technically the last year of COVID years remaining because he was a freshman at the time when the 2020 season was cut short, unexpectedly, of course. And I know they do have like 2 other seniors, and I believe their eligibility is up. But yeah, for sure one of them didn't. Yeah, one of them definitely has no more years of eligibility. It's a matter of max. I mean, the other, like the 4th-year senior that Florida Coast has. Yeah, but he doesn't hardly play, so that's the deal. And the other senior, the senior I think is out of eligibility, is Carter Bradford. He was like a 5/6 guy. So you're going to lose at least 2 players. At least 2. I don't know about that 4th-year senior if you look at the roster. But I do know, according to tennisrecruiting.net, they bring in 1 player. So technically 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, actually, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 6. Yep, 7 players. That's the most they could have. But obviously for Florida, we know they were not as strong this year when compared to years past. They fell to Oklahoma State in the last match, like in the first round of the NCAA tournament, actually. And you know, the last 2 years they were really good. I mean, national title in 2021 and Elite 8 last year, and they were 14-14. But I will say they lost a lot of key pieces. I mean, they lost Ben Shelton, who turned pro, first of all, but it was expected after how he did in the Pro Tour. They technically lost their number 7 guy in singles from last year. He turned pro too, and he probably would have been the number 1 singles player if he would have came back. And 2, they lost a lot of seniors. I mean, not only from like 5th-year guys, but yeah, basically the 5th-year guys. And of course, they do lose. I want to double check on last year's roster real fast, and then I'll go over this year's roster. Yeah, did. Yeah, they did lose Sam Riffis, their best player, after 4 years of eligibility. He turned pro, but it was not like it was unexpected because he was really solid player at Florida and on the pro tour. Got high enough ranking to be on the pro tour as well. So, and Duarte Valle, yeah, he was a fifth-year senior. So, yeah, technically he was done. Now, as for this year's roster, I know that they for sure lose Axel Nip Nefve from like a grad transfer from Notre Dame, which I apologize if I couldn't pronounce that last name. Don't want to butcher it. I definitely know, as recognized as seniors, is like Lucas Greif and Will Grant. So, yeah, and Lucas Greif, I believe he's a fifth year, so he's done no matter what. So they for sure lose two players. And Will Grant is a fourth year junior, but clearly he's decided. But he could be moving on. But that's just assuming if he does move on. That's the thing. And I already know Florida men's tennis did lose a freshman to the transfer portal, but he was like a 5/6 player. And the player was like Togan Tokak. He was like 3 and 4 at number 5, 5 and 2 at number 6. But really, he wasn't playing a bunch. But either way, they definitely lose. If Will Grant's for sure gone, which I know technically he graduated, so he might have decided not to use his COVID year. But they definitely lose the number 1 player. They definitely lose their number 5 player. 4/5. Lucas Greif played both. So they had to do that. And if Will Grant leaves, he was the number 2 singles player. Yeah. And now they for sure, if Will Grant is definitely, but no, even with losing just one guy, part of the number 1 doubles this past year, that was 14-8 in complete matches. That's gone. I mean, and Lucas Greif, they did lose for sure, and he was the number 3 doubles guy. So obviously they have to find a replacement, and they do have 2 freshmen coming in Jeremy Jin and Aiden Kim. And with this addition, I'm going to assume Will Grant's not going to be back, but then I'm going to include him later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys at least. They're going to have that. Or 9 guys at most, depending if Will Grant does come back. I'm just saying that because he was recognized on senior day, and sometimes players that get recognized on senior day could technically come back. He's like a 4th year junior, so technically a senior. But I don't blame these players if they don't want to come back for one more year. So I just want to go over what this means for both teams besides this edition. And I think this edition, I definitely know they're definitely bringing back, they should bring back Jonah Braswell. He was the number 3 singles player. Maybe he's the new number 1. I don't know. But this past year for Florida, they were 13 and 13 at 1, 12 and 11 at 2, 12 and 12 at 3. This is in terms of singles here. 9 and 12 at the 4 spot, 11-14 at the 5 spot, but 21 and 6 at number 6. Number 6 was their strength. But I know it was pretty hard with their scheduling. The SEC is one of the toughest conferences in men's tennis, actually. It's going to be even more interesting when Texas and Oklahoma do leave. after next athletic, a year from now when they go to the SEC, because that's already a tough conference with Kentucky, Mississippi State. LSU is like a top 35 team. Ole Miss is like a top 35 team. Auburn has been good. A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina. Yeah. I'm not discounting Vanderbilt or Arkansas or Alabama, but those are really not great teams in the SEC. So, yeah, of course, in Florida Gulf Coast this past year, I want to go over their record real fast to close out this video here. They were 15-9, and they lost the first round to Georgia 4-0. So, anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribe button. See you guys later. 5 subscribers, we're on the road to it. Let's go, and hit the notification bell while you're at it, so you get notified of every video that I do.